Hello everyone, welcome back to Oscar Inside. I'm so excited to be back on the channel. Today we're going to be doing our first predictions for next year's Academy Awards, the 2025 Oscar nominations predictions in June. And I'm just so hyped for this award season to start again. I know it's pretty early in the year, but we cinema freaks, we always are talking about Oscar chances, Oscar prospects, this movie, its potential. Is this going to get campaign? All of that stuff. And we just had the Cannes Film Festival, the first impressions that came from the festival for some movies that we thought were going to be big contenders and ended up being not at all, and some gems that surprised critics and people who went to the festival and now are shaping the best picture lineup race. But we have to wait for the fall festivals to see if there are other gems, other movies that we don't have on our radar that could surprise all of us. So, without further ado, I'm going to start with the Best Picture category. So, here we go. At number one, I have Doom Part 2. Now, let me get this clear. I don't think Doom Part 2 is going to win Best Picture. I don't think so. But I do believe right now it has the best chance of getting the Best Picture nomination at the next year's Oscars. It had a big box office performance. People love and adore this movie. I think even more than the first one. I think they're now seeing the entire picture of what Denis wants to create based on these books and how he has been able to adapt all of this imagery and characters into this world. So I do believe that this movie has a lot of passion behind it, both from audiences and critics, and I think this is for sure going to get the Best Picture nomination. Number two, I have Blitz. Steve McQueen is behind this project. We have Saoirse running and a big cast behind it. I think it's going to be pretty secure pick for Best Picture. I'm pretty interested to see when this movie is going to be released, if it's going to have any kind of fall festival run, because I have the feeling that this is going to be kind of similar to The Color Purple from last year, where it's not going to have any fall festival run, and it just has a December release, and it gets everyone to go to the theater and watch the movie, and they love it, and they have a beautiful pack of nominations with Golden Globes and the entire award season. But I may be wrong, this is just a theory, but I think maybe Blitz, if it has a festival premiere, I think it's going to be at TIFF. But it's pretty secure in my top 10 for Best Picture. Now we have Sing Sing from A24, a movie that I'm so hyped and excited to catch because I have not been able to see this movie. I am pretty aware of all the love and passion that it has since it premiered at last year's TIFF, right? Coleman Domingo is being predicted in many web pages and lists for Best Actor. There is supporting actor hype as well. So I think this one is going to be pretty secure. If I'm not mistaken, it releases this summer on the US. So we have to wait and see how audiences respond to this movie. But I do believe that A24 at least has to get one movie in. And with all the love that audiences has given to this one, I'm pretty sure that they're gonna push this one pretty hard on Academy's voters. So number four, we have Anora, which is a movie that I'm so excited about because, to be completely honest with you guys, I'm very new. I'm a newbie to this movie world. I have only been part of the awards season and conversation recently. I started watching the Oscars, let's say the 2016 ceremony. From that ceremony, I have been watching the Oscars continuously. And what I am trying to say is Sean Baker is a new voice in film, in cinema, and I'm a big fan of him. I actually think the Florida Project is one of my top movies ever I've ever seen. I love that movie so much. And I'm just so excited that the moment for Sean Baker has arrived. And it is so unique because Sean Baker does not work with famous actors or like with big name, type of famous actors that we see in other projects, like from, the great Martin Scorsese working with DiCaprio, or any other kind of big director working with big actors. And he just won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. It was so surprising because he's not the type of storyteller that goes with the Academy's taste. I think he, especially with Red Rocket and this Anora, has shown how much interest he has on particular stories or people who are not the type of character that you will love to follow their journey with. And based on the reviews, this has some elements and resources from movies like Uncut Gems. So there's a lot of stress and society and pressure infused in the tone of the movie. So I'm pretty interested, very hyped to see this movie. Really, really excited. I love Sean Baker. So being a Palme d'Or winner is pretty. I mean, with the exception of Titan, which we all know why Titan didn't get the nomination. It was a body horror movie. It was very particular, and it is a hard watch if you don't give it a try. And I think Academy members were just like, "Oh my gosh, Titan is not for us." But we have Parasite, we have Triangle of Sadness, we have my favorite movie from last year, Anatomy of a Fall, getting nominated for Best Picture and Best Director. So I think Anora has a good shot. And also taking into account who was the jury, we had Greta Gerwig leading the jury alongside last year's nominee as well, or well, this year's nominee, Lily Gladstone, and other incredible and important names in the film industry. I think they're pushing for Sean Baker to have his moment. And yes, Anora is going to be, for now, in my best picture lineup. I want to see the reaction from audiences, how much they connect with this movie, if it is a warm or a cold receiving from audiences, because that does impact a movie a lot. This type of movies that are very critically acclaimed remind me of cases like Spencer, which critics love. The trailer just made all audiences believe that this is going to be a best picture, and it almost didn't get Kristen Stewart the nomination, even though it is an amazing movie. But people didn't connect with it, and the Academy does take into account how much people are engaging with the movie. So we have to wait, but I'm pretty sure Anora is going to have, or at least from now, it has a big shot in Best Picture. And finally, I have Conclave, directed by Edward Berger, who was behind a big shocker at the Academy 2 years ago with All Quiet on the Western Front, which they really like, and it was just so crazy how that movie played in the award season because it was such a late bloomer, and we started thinking it was just going to be like an international player, and it ended up winning a score over Babylon, which is insane, and many other tech awards, and it won Best Picture, well, Best Film at the BAFTAs. So we know Edward is a name. He directed a pretty great movie. I am not the biggest fan of All Quiet, but I think he did an amazing job as a director in that movie. And Edward Berger, he's just back. He's just back with an incredible cast that I think is going to, get a few nominations in the acting categories. And I think this is going to be a full festival player for sure. I think because of its topic, and you know the Academy does not engage a lot with what the description in IMDb says on Conclave, which is kind of a trailer I've seen. So I think maybe securing a lot of respect from critics on these festival runs are going to help this movie in getting Academy Awards nominations. So Conclave is my number five. At number six, I have Nickel Boys. This movie is being directed by Ramon Ross, and in its cast, we can see Angelina Ellis Taylor, which I think is going to be the biggest name that we can recognize right now from this project. And I have it in here because this one is giving me fall festival big contender type of vibes. Again, it's June, it's pretty early on the award season conversation, so we have to wait if critics connect with this movie, if audiences, which I think is going to be more of an audience type of film, but still, if audiences are going to connect with this movie based on the material that this project is being based on, I think this could be a big Oscar player, but we have to wait because personally I don't have much information on this one, just based on what other people are predicting and the hype surrounding it. I'm going with this one and giving this one a shot, but we have to wait and see. At number seven, and I know this is going to be kind of crazy for some people, but I have here directed by Robert Zemeckis, and we have Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, Paul Bettany, and another group of actors that I think are going to give their best to this material. I've heard not only from the Oscar expert and Brad Brob or other sources that there have been some screenings for this movie and people are just praising how emotionally connected actors are with this one, especially Robin Wright. And I did read some comments on the movie saying that it has potential to be an Oscar contender. I'm giving it a shot. Again, Robert Zemeckis is not the type of director that the Academy is going to connect with as much as they did with his previous work in the 90s, but we have to wait. Maybe he has some sort of resurgence, even though we have seen with like Megalopolis and Napoleon and all these really prestige and respected directors from the 90s, with the exceptions of Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg, that they have not been very welcome by the new Academy members, but I am betting on it right now. At number eight, I have Real Pain, which is a small movie, but for some reason, I have this feeling that a Sundance movie has to be in here. I know this is not Past Lives. Past Lives is just a beautiful, wonderful movie that people adored, that people loved. And even though people really like A Real Pain, it is not at the level of Past Lives. But I have to give a shot to a movie from Sundance. And I think, seeing all the movies that premiere at Sundance early this year, I think A Real Pain is the one with the biggest shot. I'm also thinking about Didi, but I'm not sure if Didi has, that passion or is going to receive that push from, uh, critics and audiences to give it some recognition with the Academy, but A Real Pain, and especially because all the love that Kieran Culkin's performance received, and everyone saying like, oh, it will be cool to recognize him after his big prime time in Succession and all the recognition that he got with the Emmys. Seeing him transition into the Academy, the Oscars. So I'm betting on A Real Pain. I have to wait and see as well how this one connects with audiences, which I think is going to do pretty well with people who see it, and I think they're going to be passionate about it. And people in film Twitter and social media are going to be talking about Real Pain, and even the Academy members are not social media members, or all not all of them are very active on social media. I think its presence is going to help the movie to maybe get big nominations at next year's Oscars. At number nine, I have Joker, the new Joker, the Joker sequel, directed by Todd Phillips. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm a big fan of the first Joker. I really like that movie. So, um, and we have Lady Gaga. We have Lady Gaga. joining the cast, which is amazing. I love Gaga, and we have to wait on how different this project has resulted, because we all know now that it is a musical. It's being described as a musical. One of the reasons why I think the Gaga casting decision was really like good. I'm expecting singing. I'm expecting choreography. We know that Todd Phillips with the first movie did a great job on the technical aspect, and I don't know if this one is going to be as impactful in those categories that the first one did, because we all know that, being the first project, it has this surprise factor to it. Like, it is new, it is fresh, so we love it and we recognize it. And with sequels, it's like, oh, you're doing the same thing, which is making me think a lot about the technical categories, which I'm going to be predicting as well, on how Dune and Joker and all, or Gladiator or even Furiosa is going to make an impact in these categories, which is making me think about how well they're going to perform in those categories. But however, if this one is a hit at the box office, which I think it has the ingredients to it, because it has Joaquin Phoenix and it has all the Gaga fans, both for music and film. I think if this one again smashes the box office and it is just really liked by people, even if critics, like with the first one, are divided on it, I think this one is going to get the Best Picture nomination, even if it doesn't receive the same amount of nominations as the first movie did, because the first one got like 11, which is crazy. Uh, but with some technicals, Gaga being so strong in the acting category, and if we don't have many contenders, even Joaquin Phoenix, which I'm not predicting him, but if the category ends up being weak, he can get in, and then we have a picture. Now, Todd Phillips, I don't know if he's gonna get director this time around, because there's a lot of competition, but I think this movie can get into Best Picture without Todd Phillips getting the nom in director. And finally, I'm doing something bold, something crazy. I know, and I'm going to be talking about some other big movies and titles that are from festivals or that have not released yet, or people don't know much about them. But I'm going with challengers, which again, I know it's crazy because it is an early release, and we have all seen and talked about how movies like Get Out, that got a very early release, still made it to the Best Picture lineup. Um, but I just feel so much love and passion from the movie community towards challengers that it is an undeniable force. Like, people adore this movie, people really connect with it. Even people who have, it's like they don't love the screenplay, or there are some faults that they find in the project as a whole, they do respect a lot of Luca Guadagnino's directing, which you will say like, oh well, this could be like another round situation where it gets director but not film, or Cold War. But no, I feel like people really like this project. It has big names attached to it, like this trio are being adored by everyone who sees the movie. I mean, it has Zendaya on it. Zendaya is like a big star right now, alongside with her work on Dune. So people are just like obsessed with this movie now. The hype has gone a little bit, because it released kind of like a month and a half ago, and people are now focusing on other projects and movies that are coming. And especially after Cannes, everyone's talking about Cannes and the Palme d'Or and stuff. But I do believe challengers, if it is able to maintain the love and the passion that it got last month, or has got the last couple of weeks, I think this one is going to carry into the Best Picture potential nominee list. Other movies that I do consider are very close to the top 10, but I'm not predicting right now. Number 11, I have Queer, the second movie that is releasing this year from the incredible Luca Guadagnino, movie that I'm very, very hyped about and I'm pretty interested about. It is starring Daniel Craig, which a lot of people are predicting is going not only to get nominated but win the Academy Award for Best Actor at next year's Oscars, which is pretty interesting, pretty bold. I have to consider him very, very heavily when I do my best actor predictions. But I do believe the hype is real. I do believe in the people that are involved in this project. Luca is working with the same screenwriter that worked with him on Challengers, and this is giving me type of Venice Film Festival premiere vibes. So I think it's gonna be there. At number 12 and number 13, I have the two biggest contenders from Netflix, which are not in my top 10, and some of you guys are just think that's insane and crazy because Netflix at least has got one project on the 10 best picture lineup in the last couple of years. Last year, Maestro, and well, I do not remember the years, but 2018 they got, or 2020 they got The Irishman and Marriage Story, so they do manage to get projects nominations. I mean, Nayat recently, which was crazy, it got acting nominations. But the point is, Netflix does put some work behind their campaigns, and their two biggest titles are not in my top 10. Then why is that? Um, I don't know. I just don't see the path for any of these right now. I do believe the piano lesson, when it is seen, and critics, I think critics are gonna be more positive on this project. My biggest concern with it is this going to be a more rainy situation? Because, okay, Fences, it was a particular year. You had big names like Viola Davis attached to the project, and people just wanted to award her for how incredible she is. I love her. But what we're talking about here is this going to be that type of vibe where audiences don't really love this movie because it feels like a play, and critics are, respecting the movie, but they don't necessarily see it at the top 10, or it is no one's number one, so then it just like falls. That's what it is giving me right now. I don't think this movie is gonna go empty handed. I think it's gonna get some acting nominations. But for now, I don't have any picture. And Emilia Perez, it did pretty well at the Cannes Film Festival. It received two awards. Best Actress, which went to the entire female cast of the movie, did pretty well on the festival, and Netflix acquired it. I do believe there's potential for this movie. I'm a little bit afraid with the musical aspect of it because there are people who love musicals and there are people who definitely do not connect with musicals. So I'm afraid that that portion of people who do not like musicals are going to be like, no, we don't want this movie. But we have to wait and see. It has a decent, well, not decent. It has a good meta score. I think it's around 70 right now, and it could, get a boost at the Golden Globes, especially because since it is a musical in comedy slash musical movies get their category separated from drama. Maybe if it gets picture, if it gets actress or supporting actress, this one is going to be a strong contender for Best Picture. Number 14, The Apprentice. The only reason that I have it this low is because the reception to this movie was so lukewarm. Like, it was just, it is giving me like meh. Like, people think this is a decent movie. They like the performances. They respect what they're trying to do with the movie, but they're not going crazy about it. People who don't like the movie is just like, we don't like it. But it's not, it's not giving me like, oh, we truly love this movie. We have to at least protect the actors for the acting categories, or nothing. I don't know. I don't know how to express it. It's just I don't feel people are passionate enough about The Apprentice. But I do recognize that based on what we're talking about, the material that we're working with, being an election year at the U.S., people have this on the radar. I don't know how they're going to put it on theaters because it doesn't have a distributor yet. And maybe they're gonna do it independently. I don't know. Maybe the news, as many people have said, are going to help this movie to be on people's watch list or something. I don't know. I just it is a weird feeling with this movie that I'm just not connecting with it, or at least in terms of award season. I'm excited to see it. I want to see the movie. Um, but in terms of awards, I just don't feel the potential right now. Number 15, we have The Seed of the Sacred Fig, which kind of got me scared for a moment in terms of Honora's chances of winning the Palme d'Or. But we all know that Honora won, and this one was recognized with like a special award, if I'm not mistaken. And but there is this thing that I don't know if the narrative for this movie is being pushed by the fact that the movie is good, which I do believe that the movie is pretty good because it has a really high meta score right now. But you have to add to the mix the fact that you know all the story behind the director and his relationship with the country, that I think is going to push this movie in some regard. But in terms of best picture, I don't know how this one can sneak in, especially because this is Neon too, and Neon is gonna go pretty hard with Nora. So unfortunately, there's just like it is deciding between Nora or the Seed, and I think they're gonna go with Nora. But one of my most anticipated movies of the year for sure. Number 16, I have The End, which I had really, really high before the Cannes Film Festival. To be completely honest, I don't know if they maybe are considering moving it to next year because I do believe that the actors and the material that is infused in this movie is very best picture potential. Has a lot of best picture potential. Sorry, I don't know how I phrased that, but um, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with it. I think it's Neon. Yeah, Neon has it, but again, with Anora and then with the Seed of Sacred Fig, they are just like, what do we do with the end? Do we wait? Do we premiere it at next year's Cannes Film Festival? We have to wait and see. The Room Next Door is the new project from one of my favorite directors, Pedro Almodovar, and is starring, let me see, very quickly, because if I'm not mistaken, it stars Tilda Swinton, which is one of my favorite actresses, Julianne Moore, John Turturro, and Alessandro Nivola. Uh, you have Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore in a project, which is insane, crazy. I love that. Even though Julianne didn't get nominated for May December, um, they like Julianne Moore. The Academy loves her. Tilda Swinton hasn't been nominated for quite some time, but everyone knows Tilda Swinton and how much of a chameleon she is and how involved in the projects that she participates in. She is very dedicated to the acting craft. Anyways, The Room Next Door, Pedro Almodovar. I think this one has some potential. This is the first movie that he makes with an English script. Like it is not Spanish. That's what I'm trying to say. And we have to wait and see how well that you know translates because writing in a different language for someone who has made movies in the same one could be a detriment in terms of awards potential. I don't believe so. Personally, I think he's an amazing screenwriter, an amazing director. But what I'm trying to say here is some people maybe are doubtful of its potential, and that maybe is what makes me doubtful as well in terms of how well people are gonna connect from a director who is now doing movies in another language differently from what we are used from that director. And the final two I'm gonna go very quickly. Gladiator 2, I don't know. I just I think it could be another flop, unfortunately. If critics hype this movie, I think people are gonna be excited to go and catch this one. Juror number two, which is rumored to be the last movie from Clint Eastwood, and it has Jake Simmons, Toni Collette, and Nicholas Hoult. So there is a good casting here. Clint Eastwood, as we have just talked about with Roman Zemeckis and Ridley Scott, and Francis Ford Coppola, they have not been connected with the new members of the Academy, but we have to wait and see if this movie lands or it doesn't. Right now, I do see potential for it in acting categories and maybe a screenplay category, but it has to be like a achievement, for people to say this one deserves to be in the best picture lineup, but right now I don't see it. And finally, I have Nosferatu. Now, I'm not predicting it in my top 10, and I know that it is a horror flick, it is a monster movie, and Robert Eggers, even when he did The Northman, which was not a horror movie, the Academy was just like, we are not connecting with you. I know that. But the previews, like the first looks that, if I'm not mistaken, it was Vanity Fair got on this movie, are giving me so much excitement in terms of cinematography. I think it looks stunning. And I don't know, I think people, because Nosferatu, yes, it is a monster movie, but it gives me kind of like vibes of reviving a classic monster figure, a classic movie, and if it is well done, it somehow has some emotional connection that people engage with, and it is just not pure horror or pure, technical achievement, but in the screenplay somehow you're able to connect with the monster or the characters that are involved in the story. I think this one has potential for sure. So those were my predictions for next year's Academy Award Best Picture lineup. Doing a quick summary, I have Dune Part 2, Blitz, Sing Sing, Anora, Conclave, Nickel Boys, Here, A Real Pain, Joker 2, and Challengers. And I'm keeping an eye on movies like Queer, Emilia Perez, The Piano Lesson, The Apprentice, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, The End, The Room Next Door, Gladiator 2, Juror Number 2, and Nosferatu. Now, let me know in the comment section if you think this lineup is completely madness, completely chaos, you don't believe any of these movies or only a few of these movies are going to get the Best Picture nomination at next year's awards, or also let me know which movies were in the middle of the year you are predicting so far for Best Picture at next year's Oscars. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you all. Um, if you like this video, leave it a like, share it in social medias, or just let's discuss in the comment section below, as I told you. Other predictions. I think my next video is going to be for director, which is one of my favorite categories, and I'm really interested to see which 5 directors I think are going to be nominated for next year's Oscars. And any kind of recommendation or other topics that you would like to see on the channel, please leave them as well in the comment section. Take care. I'll see you on the next video.